on Zoom. Okay, so thank you very much for waiting. Welcome back, everyone. So we're, due to the technical issues, we are doing the Q&A session on Zoom tonight. So before we start the Q&A session, I would like to first introduce Seni Tiga. So my name is Junyi. I'm the assistant producer of Seni Tiga. So Seni Tiga literally means three arts in Bahasa Malaysia, which is movement, visual, and sound. So it's a collaborative performance series that is multidisciplinary. We started this project as a volunteer project, in fact, in 2019. So last year we had 10 shows. We did it in Kongsi KL. In 2020, we were collaborating with Rex KL that we were supposed to have 8 shows in 2 venues, but thanks to the pandemic, that didn't happen. The show that you watched tonight, the team from Seni Tiga number 11 was actually supposed to stage in April. But due to the MCO that happened in March, we were forced to move this. Actually, the previous idea was not to do this online. We had a lot of discussions. We have back and forth throughout the year. And they met each other in January, where they had a jamming session in Kongsi KL. And then, and this is here we are. In December this year, we're finally able to do this as a pre-recorded video on Cloud Theatre. Okay, so I guess the perks of doing this online is also that we are able to reach a wider audience. In fact, we have audience from 6 different countries tonight itself, if I'm not mistaken, across different time zones. So people are able to watch the show for, when we're doing this as a pre-recorded video. And not only that, we were able to think about what are the other ways to present a story in a different form. So I guess that is also something that is really exciting for the team, even though we're not able to do the live performance. So there is a different takeaways from different parties from the group. So before we start the Q&A session, I would just want to remind you that this session is recorded. If you have any questions, you have comments, criticism, confessions, you can all type it out in the chat box. We'll read it out later and answer your questions. And I think you're gonna need some time for that. Before we talk about the project, I think it's also important for me to do a curtain call. Even though it's not a live performance, I'm gonna introduce all of the artists and everyone in the team. So those in the team, can you please turn on your webcam as well as your mic so that, we can make some noise because it's really quiet here and it's really weird. So the first person that I'm gonna introduce is a theater maker for quite some time. He is, he studied overseas and here he is now. We have Dexter, the first performer.
Hi.
The next performer, she is actually quite new to the scene. She is, in fact, a journalist. So this is her first performance, first real performance, I guess. Say hi, Aisha.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
Okay, so next we also have a new face in the industry. She is trained as an architect. This is also her first, I think, first few performances, but the very first performance she did in Malaysia. Please welcome Amalia.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, next, now I guess we have already introduced all the new faces. Now it's more to the more experienced people. So we have someone who is in the industry for quite some time. Iwas, the sound artist.
Iwas.
Oh, hi, thank you.
And then we have, I guess, the most experienced performance maker of the team. Not very old, but everybody will go to him when we have questions. We have the lighting designer, Jackie.
Hi. Oh.
Okay, so thanks to Chandana for the grant, we were able to do this in a more proper way this year. So we get professional help basically this time around. We never had a real team like that before, and this is the first time we have an SM for a Seni Tiga show. So he is also a very young graduate from a performing arts diploma. We have our stage manager, Hanson. Hanson,
Hi.
say hi.
Hi.
Yes, so our stage manager is like the youngest in the team. And next, we were also able to get technical support from who are helping in different disciplines. We have Gan
Bye-bye.
and Nelly. Hello,
Ellie.
Nelly.
What up?
Yeah, so both of these are the audio assistant. So what they do is they always have their headphone on, and when we're doing the recording in Gongsi KL, they're like they pick up all the noises, and then they go like, "Oh my God, there's this traffic, there's this dog barking next door, there's this neighbor laughing." So we have to deal with that. So they're the person who are doing this, and then we also have a lighting assistant, Seng Seng.
Saying.
Say hi. Okay, so what Seng Seng do is he helped Jackie when he's setting up the lights. Sometimes he send on the spot, and then Jackie will adjust his lighting. So that is what a lighting assistant do. This it is also very new to us. And then we also have the video team here tonight. Han,
Hey guys.
hello.
I'm not sure you can hear me, but
Yes,
hello.
we can hear you. Hello. Is Adrian here? I think Adrian couldn't make it tonight. So yes, Han and Adrian is part of the video team who, inevitably become part of the collaborator because we're doing this as a new way of presenting a live performance. It's no longer a live performance, so we have to work very closely with the video team. Okay, I'm hearing feedback. Not sure from where. Okay. So the video team came in during the rehearsals and one of the tech run where we had to, discuss with the video team to talk about how are we going to present the show. So it was actually something that all of us missed for a long time for being in the same physical space. And then throughout the whole process of maybe about a week from the setup to the last few rehearsals to the tech run and then to the shoot of the production, the video production period, that was really, really intense. And all of us had to be in the same space for, about a week without enough sleep. And everybody was just like, okay, going all out on this. So it really felt as if everyone was in this together. It made us feel like a team. Okay, so it was a really fun process for all of us. So before we move to the Q&A session, let me just introduce the producers. So I'm Juni, the assistant producer, and then we have Pesian here, who is the tech person tonight, and then we have Kim. Kim is the producer of the show. Hello, say hi. Okay, I think she's mute herself. Okay, so that's all from the team, and would like to thank Rex KL for being a part of the collaborator for the Seni Tiga 2020 series. Brian couldn't make it tonight, but Brian has been with us throughout the process, giving us advice in producing the show, as well as Exim, who is kind enough to let us, experiment in this space. Yeah, I guess that's, and of course, those of you who watched the show tonight and this afternoon, yesterday, thank you very much for watching the show. So, yeah, do we have any questions yet? Okay, not yet. Paysian will check the questions on across different platforms. So maybe I will just ask the artist to talk about the whole creation process? It's been a year. Well, we met each other in January, and then here we are in December. So it's a very, very long process. How is the process like? Maybe Aisha, you can talk about your experience.
Sure. The process has been much, much longer than we anticipated, but I think it was definitely worth it. I think it felt even longer in a year like this one. But in a way, I think we're all quite grateful because it actually gave us the time and the space to focus on the process itself. Because so many things were so uncertain. I think at the beginning, we were very rushed. Like, we have 1.5 months to put on this performance. It's going to be live. And then as it dragged on, it turned more and more into, oh, we just have this time to spend together and create this thing. And so I really enjoyed how it was actually drawn out. And I don't think we would have gotten the quality of work that we did without it having been such a long and arduous and winding road, honestly.
Did you think that we're all ready to stage the show in April?
Back then?
Yeah.
In retrospect, absolutely not. And it would not be the show that it is today, certainly not without the degree of depth and polish that I think we managed to have in the end.
Yeah, I see Amalia like shaking her head there as well. Do you have anything to share, Amalia?
Well, I suppose, if we haven't gotten to know each other better, the work that we've come out this weekend it will be so much different than what we have right now. So I really enjoy getting to know everyone in the team. Yeah.
What about Dexter? You want to share anything about, ready to stage this in April? That kind of readiness, I thought, everyone was like, okay, we can do this in April. But, now we're in December and we felt that, okay, this is maybe closer to what we want to do.
I think we were able to stage it in April, but like Aisha said, it's not going to have as much depth as it is right now. Because a lot of what we presented was like, we scratched a lot of what we did before the MCO, before the lockdown. So a lot of things that we presented were developed after the lockdown. So a lot of what we did was really devising it from, drawing it out from our personal experience. So, and I think MCO definitely affected us in not just like, our life, but also that connectivity with another human being. So it was a lot of, being vulnerable during discussions and the devising process and really open up about our own experiences. And that helped us, create the contents per se for the show itself. And if we didn't have the additional time to get to know each other, then, we may not be able to extract that out from our, the creatives. So yeah, in a way, it's a blessing in disguise. And I think it worked out. So yeah.
But how did you guys draw that inspiration from each of you? Because your memories, it's a very personal thing that people wouldn't usually talk about that kind of experience. So what happened during the collaboration that made you, talk about your very intimate feeling?
I think when we all gathered together, one of the things that we decided on in terms of the direction and the theme of the show is we want to explore the more painful side of the emotion spectrum, right? Like pain, grief, regrets, those sort of things. And when we regrouped after the lockdown, after MCO, we basically what I did was I came up with several prompts for each week, and we started off as a discussion. So we all know what we are able to do as in terms of our art, but we needed things to back it up. So it was really a process of getting to know each other and developing all these prompts where we would come in with a theme and then we would share an experience or something related to that prompt. It could be in a text or a movement piece or a music composition. And once we got more and more of that, we've kind of see a pattern building among them. And then we start extracting which one we want and which one is working for all of us. And once we start pick and choose. We start to have scenes per se, and from there we start to develop the scenes and building the transitions and all. And right now it's all connected, and this is what you see. Yeah. So there were a lot more scenes that we could have picked for the shows, but then these were the ones that we felt that were more significant, and we see the connectivity in them in terms of what we were going for. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you all started with the content itself. Then after the content, what happened? Which art form jumps in first? I remember Iwas telling me something about this. Iwas, you want to share? Like after the content, like you guys have already decided to, dwell on the idea of memories of your past and what happened next. Because a lot of people are very curious about the collaboration process. How does these different art forms come together and who takes the lead? How is it like working with a team like this, Iwas?
Right. Yeah, I think in the beginning it was great and exciting because we were all sort of sharing different perspectives with each other. That helped in forming the scenes, the content as well. But there was some point in the beginning as well, we were sort of lost because there was no like a direction, somebody to lead. And I think at one point we sort of picked up one person in the group, which was Jackie, to be our head director. And that helped a lot. That really helped a lot because everybody had great ideas, but we just couldn't make a decision. Okay, like where do we want to go? So Jackie came in and just like, okay, this is what we should do. This is what we should try. And then we can try and try and try. So at least we have a leader in that sense, somebody that can say, okay, let's do this and let's do that. So yeah.
So all of you felt that there is a need for a leader in decision making, right? Because even though it's a collaboration process, but somebody has to make the final decision.
Yeah. Of course.
And that person
Otherwise
is
it's
Jackie.
just chaotic.
Jackie, do you want to talk about this? Well, you're the lighting designer, you're the most experienced performance maker, and they name you as the director who makes decision for the show. So
I just try my best.
This is not the typical Jackie. Jackie would, go around and scold people at times, especially during the production period, which is pretty intense.
Really?
Alright.
Wow, Jackie was just like all sweet to us.
You're lucky.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of questions on the chat.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to read the first questions. We have Geraldine, who is asking, what's the significance of the props, like the sand pouring and the elastic bands? Okay, a lot of people are actually asking about the set itself. We have also Alicia asking, what was the movement intention behind the elastic band scene? And then we also have Wenping, who is asking, curious about the sand pouring scene as well. Was it really sand? Was the execution difficult for the actor and the team? In any way, it was a really emotional and intense scene. So there are a lot of people who are asking about the set design as well as the performance behind this. So Amalia, do you want to talk about the sets?
Okay, guys, help me out, please. please. Okay, because at the beginning of the process of our collaboration, the way that we did it is we have sharings, right? So each of us come to the meeting, and then we talk about the things that affect us, and we show them in a lot of different ways. So that, for example, Dexter would move through things. Aisha would speak through things. I would do pictures or tell storytelling, and then Iwas would create music through things. With Elastic, okay, no, let's start with Sun. Actually, I remember Sun, which is not really Sun. Can you guys guess what it is? Okay, but it's actually coffee grounds. So we've been collecting coffee from cafes. What's the cafe again, Jackie? You want to promote your friend's cafe?
Yes.
What cafe already?
Yeah,
Ah,
we
you don't
forgot
remember?
about that. We actually got extra support from a few friends. We have the barista from the pond who gave us coffee powder for the scene. It wasn't actually sand. And we also have Tan Heng from, okay, he's no longer with that. Okay, so we also have Heng who loaned us his lighting equipment for the show as well. Yes, Jackie, it's Le Pond. You want to talk about the scene?
Uh,
Okay, I guess Jackie is more comfortable talking in Chinese. So if you want to talk in Mandarin, I can do the translation.
no, it's okay, it's okay. Now didn't have anything to talk. It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, but I'll continue with the coffee. I guess we started off with red beans, right? Yes, red beans. It started with, was it a showering scene already? That was from a sharing from Dexter. So he brought red beans into the sharing, and he was playing around with red beans, and we were thinking, how nice is red beans? You know, how nice does it sound? And like, we don't even need to use actual water to portray falling rain or falling water. So from red beans it becomes, I think we were thinking about green beans, even sand, whatever else, and then we just got to coffee. I think because I'm working with coffee, yeah, that's what happened. um and then as for elastic, I believe elastic is a specific scene that comes from prop first. Like it's not story originated. It's the prop first, because I remember Jackie telling us, let's do elastics. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Jackie, it's your cue.
Huh? Yes.
Your elastic scene.
How did elastic come to be?
I wanted to remember last time you just proposed some image for us,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that image is spark my imagine and then come out the elastic scene.
Which image was that? Because I don't remember.
Like the very many line up to down.
Yeah, because we were talking about binding, about hands. Oh, we actually started with hands being bound together, and then how to show that binding in a performance in a space. So we got into elastics.
Yeah.
Yes, right? Yeah. Now I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah. So elastic actually came first before we figured out how to deal with the material, how to play with elastic inside the scene. Yeah. So
I think
what else?
there's some parts of in the storytelling where we wanted to sort of explore the idea of these characters going through memories and see how they affect us positively or negatively. So we were figuring out like how could we represent that physically. And I think we went through a couple of examples, and I think eventually we landed on elastic and sort of to represent and as an abstract form of strands of memories that these two characters were playing around. So yeah,
And
that's sort of sorry.
oh yeah, no, and I was just gonna build off what you were saying, because we started out with the props, and then eventually we started calling it the forest of memories. Like that's just what it became, because we realized that each strand actually sort of represented something that we were wading through. And I think, Amalia and Jackie were exceptionally thoughtful in thinking about what materials to use, because the elastic, the way you can work with it is really quite extraordinary. Like it has a very strong resistance, and the coffee was really uncomfortable, certainly for Dexter. When he's filming that scene, we are sitting a very long way away, but we're all struggling not to cough. So for him inside there, it's pretty intense.
And a strong hit of caffeine too in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
we were
it
all
was
just
good.
like woken up. That amount of coffee.
I think if it was staged live, the smell of the coffee grounds would definitely very different effect to the audiences. But in terms of my experience of being in that scene, it was actually very suffocating because I couldn't breathe. And it's very hard for me to breathe for like a whole, I think, 6 to 8 minutes. And you kind of get the coffee grounds in your eyes, in your nose, in your mouth. So all of those pain that you see, they were actually pretty real because that was what I was experiencing. And especially, yeah. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that, for the coffee scene, like Dexter said, it's all about being very suffocating and oppressive. And when we were rehearsing to try and recreate that feeling without getting coffee, Jackie, the pioneering director that he is, would give us all like cloth, and we'd actually throw stuff at Dexter, and it would get progressively aggressive. Like we'd throw stuff, we'd like smack him with things, and he just, he'd stand there to imitate that feeling. And so that's why I think even when you had the real scene, the coffee itself is very light, but you were able to, recreate the sense of like, even though it's light, the force is actually hitting you so much, which I thought was really amazing.
I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah.
Dexter didn't. Every time after that scene, he was like, wet tissue. He's like doing that.
We gotta point out that, sorry, so just one more point on coffee. Throughout the whole entire time, our stage manager was actually on top, pouring coffee on Dexter. So, Ensign, shout out to you.
There he is.
Hanson was really proud of that. He was like, take a picture of me. I'm going to be up there.
I couldn't hear anything. Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. We got a malfunction here. I didn't hear anything.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
About the coffee scene where you were pouring coffee from the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to talk about it, is it?
Only if you want to.
Sorry.
It's okay. But I guess it would also be very challenging for Han as well because, when it was the first time for him to see that, he need to think about how not to get the coffee powder into his equipment, I think, and then being so close to the scene. We are actually being a lot more further apart from Dexter, and we are already feeling it. So it was, I guess, more intense for Han as well. Was it very challenging for you, Han?
Right. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, to be honest, actually, the coffee part was probably the least of my concerns out of everything here, to be honest. I mean, a little bit of the coffee, how far it's going to pour and whether it's going to touch the equipment. I mean, to be honest, that's kind of, it's quite okay because most of our equipment is quite designed to take on certain kind of environments, like in, harsh weather and stuff like that. But if we're talking about like other parts of the video, like coordinating between the actors and how we do our movements and stuff like that, then there's a whole different can of worms that we can open. But just to answer the coffee thing, it's actually not too bad. Thankfully.
Okay, we'll get back to that after we answer all the questions then.
Yep.
Okay, we have a question for Dexter. How does theater what is the differences between American and Malaysian theater? Is there any significant contrast between them?
There are definitely a lot of differences, but if I want to go down to the core of it, because essentially what American theater, at least the production or the directors that I've worked with are mostly Americans, right? So it's being told through the American lens. So one of the things about Malaysian theater, and I'll just take Dulu Saat as the point of reference, is I knew that coming back to Malaysia, I want to do Malaysian work with Malaysians in Malaysia. Because I never had a chance throughout my, my journey in theater. So it's that telling that story, a very local story from, being abroad and coming back, and the entire experience is just different, and it changes the way you see things as well. So for me personally, if I want to highlight one difference, it would definitely be be the core and the essence of the show itself, or the approach to making theater. Yeah, because right now I'm telling a story of where I grew up with people that I grew up with, people that understand my culture and my upbringing. So for me, that would be the biggest difference. Yeah.
Okay, I hope that answered Raphael's question. Next, we have a question from YouTube by Kavita. What's challenging about bringing this script to life? Okay, so I guess maybe you can talk about how you guys spend time in Aisha's room, in the dark.
Yeah, so what Jenny is referring to is when we rehearsed over the lockdown, it just kind of happened in my house, and it was just us sitting in the dark talking about our feelings. And actually, I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but a lot of the script, actually all the script for the show, with the exception of the monologue where I'm in the red dress, those are all lifted from my diaries verbatim. Because I've been keeping diaries since I was 8 years old. So every single piece of text, like at the beginning and then at the end, it kind of just existed, and they already had these particular emotions attached to them. So that was like the first step. But I think what's challenging is turning that into something with depth visually. Like that's something I think I personally struggled with a lot, that Dexter and Jackie helped me with a lot, because the text was just text. And I think the biggest challenge, especially for me, someone with no acting experience, was translating that into like a visual representation that would actually hit us hard. And I think we really kind of achieved that through the set and the music, like most of all. Like I think that definitely helped the challenges. Dexter, guys, any thoughts? Oh, and I guess it should also be said that we didn't start with a script. The script came in, like apart from the diary sharing, we were actually improving, and then realized like, oh, why don't we use the text from my diaries and put it here as well.
I gotta say that the chemistry between the two of you was very strong, and you guys were really good at improvising. Clear sort of storyline moments that you've written, and you guys were just like running with it, scene after scene, rehearsal after rehearsal. So that was impressive to watch as you build together. There wasn't really a script written down for you guys to follow, but you guys were really just sort of improvising as you go. So that's really, really cool to watch out from my end, at least.
Yeah. So a lot of, and just to piggyback off that, in terms of bringing it to life, right? Like it didn't come off as a script. It came off as different stories, and then we piece the stories together. And then eventually we work on the transitions, we polish up the scenes, and that's when it becomes this entire show. So it's not like we develop a super grand script or scene one, what is this? Scene two, what is this? And then rehearse it. So it's devising from scratch really, and we take what worked and we left out what didn't.
Yeah, on that note, actually, I think the biggest challenge, now that I think about it, wasn't so much adapting from the script. It was trying to find a script to what we were improvising, because we were kind of pulling bits of text and memories, but they were really just a jumble of very impulsive things that we were doing together. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I guess Jackie has decided not to speak tonight, so I'm just gonna ask the next question. How would the experience be different for an audience to watch this live as opposed to a film version? I guess the production team has also been discussing this quite a lot. So what's the main difference between a film version and a live performance? Han, do you want to start?
Oh yeah, sure. I thought Jackie would want to answer this, but I guess I can give my 2 cents on this as well. I mean, Jackie, do you want to go first? I mean, do you have any thoughts? Because Yeah.
Okay, Julian help translate 了。
OK，
但那个意思是live 的演出跟 video 的不同是吗
对对对。
？OK
Jackie has to answer this question because Jackie has been very reluctant to do this as a film version, and then he thought about it and goes like, okay, the only way we were able to do this was to present it as a pre-recorded video. So, you know, he gave in, and yes, Jackie.
No, OK 刚开始的时候是想着只能是记录形式去拍这个东西的。当然，我觉得现场的演出跟拍摄才是有不一样的，比如是大家的看的 focus point 是不一样的。
Okay.
Please.
So the biggest difference for him for a live performance and a film is that people have different point of. Oh, you were not okay. People would be looking at different things when it was a live performance, so they are free to choose what to look at. Whereas in a film, everything is captured.
So 他就其实如果在video 里面看theater show 的话，其实很快就 lost 那个 focus 的。所以我们在拍摄的时候，其实基本上跟他讨论的时候，其实很多时候是觉得有没有一些镜头语言可以玩的东西。
And then I felt that it would be very hard for people to concentrate throughout the whole film because of the lack of the freedom to choose what to look at. So I had to, the whole production team have to talk to Han when making a decision to choose what kind of camera language, is it camera language? Yep, to work with in order to better present the story.
Yeah, okay. So Han.
Yeah. So I mean, speaking on that, yeah. So I mean, oh man, I don't even know where to begin because there's so much to unpackage here. I mean, from the decision to shoot the way we shoot it versus, the kind of, I mean, you can go down to the details, to the camera lens and all that kind of methods. But yeah, I mean, I think the main thing that we wanted to preserve is both the theatrical sense where there's no like pause and there's no cuts, but at the same time acknowledging that this is a video format. So it's kind of, we are blending both sectors where there's certain freedoms where we have a lot of like sweeping kind of wide shots where people can choose where they want to see and what they want to focus on. But at the same time, there is also a majority of the shots which, yes, you can see everything, but there is a certain narrative that we do want you to focus on, because there's a lot of like little things in film that affects how you perceive things, such as how quickly you push in and push out, and which angles you shoot from, all can dictate the type of emotions that we want to kind of portray through the film. So with this, we tried to do a blend of both. Because we were also discussing on just doing a traditional format, which is shooting it how a live show would be. But I felt like that was a little bit of a waste because, not a waste, but I feel like, given the kind of context in what we're doing right now, and the kind of set that we had, I felt like this was a really good opportunity for us to try something new, and try to go for this blend a little bit better than just trying to recreate a recorded theater feeling. I'm not saying that that's bad or anything, but I just thought that it's quite cool to give it a shot. So yeah.
Yeah, there were actually a lot of discussion among ourselves that we were unable to choose whether to document this as a live performance or to make it as a film or a video production. And what is the main difference between this? There were actually a lot of discussion among ourselves. Maybe Gan and Nelly, you can talk about this because what is the main difference between you doing a live performance and a video? Will there be any difference in the sound that you pick out?
Okay, so actually, when I was brought into the project by Iwas, the sound designer and composer, so initially when he wanted me on the track on the project, um, he wanted a very interactive sound experience for the audience. So if it had been a live show, it would have been very interesting. Sound audience will be around surrounding the stage, and different sounds and different parts of maybe like interactive different props might come up from different part of the speaker. So it would have been a really cool thing as well, but totally different, as like we have other things to think about, like feedback and all that. So it would have been very different.
Correct.
Gan, is there anything that you want to add?
No, all good. And Nelly sums it up.
Okay, I guess this answer part of Afik's question about if we were to restage this show, will it be the originally planned version or an evolved version of what we have presented this weekend? I think we have also talked about it during the video production that, you know, if we were going to restage this, how are we going to do it? We haven't really got into that yet, but maybe you guys want to share something, especially on maybe the set, the lights and the sound has already, Nelly has already answered a little bit on what was going to happen if we were to stage a live performance. So maybe Amalia, what would be the differences that you're going to make in terms of set design if it's a live performance?
Well, the set is designed for a live performance. I don't think it's different. It's not dictated from a film. It's just the view that you see it. That depends on where the camera goes around it. I would say as a whole, the story would probably be the same. It's just that, of course, we have a technical issues that has to be solved if it's live. I mean, it's different, the technicalities. Say, for example, with the coffee, for this, we put Hansen up there, right? But of course, we're not going to be able to do that for a live show unless he's up there for 1 hour show. So those are the things that we have to solve if it's live. Yeah, and some props arrangements, but otherwise I would say it's still gonna look quite the same. But if it's a different, I guess if it's a restage, obviously the arrangement of furniture is gonna be different depending on the mood and situation and whatever we have at that time. Because the furniture that we have hanging actually they're not dictated from the beginning. It's just more of us seeing, okay, what do we have around us, and what can we use, what can we put up, what's the composition that we can do. So I guess if it's a live experience, it depends on where we're gonna go as well. Because right now this current show is very Kongsi KL based, so it depends on what furniture that we have in Kongsi KL. I guess people who visited Kongsi KL a lot would see, oh, that's the chair that I usually sit in. Oh, that's the trolley. Oh, that's the whatever. You know, it's a very Kongsi KL I guess image, right? Yeah, the vibe as well. So yeah, I guess that's from me.
Again, just to add on that point is that when we decided to change to screening this online, we were very careful about how we approach it. So one of the things we sort of decided was to proceed on as if we were to stage it live, only that we'll record it. So in that sense, the only thing that changed was how we arranged the furnitures and the set to be on a screen format rather than an audience experience. Because part of the show that we planned out was for audience to experience the show immersively, with props and lights and sound all together. So I guess in that sense, if we were to stage it live, it will be a completely different experience, but the same story, only you get to experience it at the site.
But I
Yeah.
guess all of us will be very, very anxious, you know. What if the elastic falls down at the very beginning? What is
Yeah.
going to happen? And is
Oh my
Aisha and
gosh.
Dexter going to be able to, you know, dance for, move for 50 minutes? You know, we were also thinking about that. So it's going to be a different challenge if it's a live performance. But if we get the support to do it, I'm sure that everybody is willing to do it again as a live performance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
I would
in a
love
heartbeat.
to, yeah, I'd love to restage it if we had the resources, as you say. But I think, like you mentioned, it's really a stamina thing. It was really grueling. Even the opening scene itself, if people here could have seen what Dexter and I were like at the end of that scene running around, we're both just like collapsed on the floor, so exhausted. Yeah. So it would have been really on us, I think, to get our strength and stamina up for the real thing. And maybe the adrenaline of a live audience would actually help with that. And, you know, the exhaustion would be secondary. So that's kind of exciting. And I do wish we had a live audience because, like, for example, the elastic scene, the cinematography in that was incredible. Like, you would never have been able to have those perspectives if you were in a live audience. You're in that forest of memories with us. But at the same time, if you were constantly seeing the whole picture all the time as a live audience, that's a completely different thing as well. And you, when you're closer, you could probably see more of the coffee dust like blowing everywhere. And that's a scene like I'd
Exactly.
love to restage.
I guess that would
Yeah.
be
For
most challenging
us
for you, Aisha.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, actually, someone is also asking in the chat box, how was your transition from a journalist to a performer?
It was really scary, to be honest, because I kind of had never done this before. And I think this whole year with Seni Tiga was really an exercise in getting out of my comfort zone. Because even any like creative work I had done before, you know, I write fiction, which stays on a page, or I do spoken word poetry, which is just me speaking. And you can kind of see with the way we've done the show that, you know, everyone was very accommodating to let me perform in a way that I would be most comfortable with. So that's why Snap is very much like spoken word, and it really helped like having my real diary entries. So yeah, it was largely a very scary thing, but I say also very exciting because I think Dexter and Jackie have said this before. I did feel very much like a blank canvas. I had no preconceptions about like theater or acting before, zero experience. So whatever they told me to do, I just do it. And I was kind of like, okay, sure. And I would say that actually my experience as a journalist helped a lot. It's that idea of just going in to find out what it's like, right? It's almost like reporting, like what is this gonna be like? And I think that instinct actually helped me to be a lot more gung-ho about, you know, doing things that are quite uncomfortable, like getting naked and rolling in coffee, basically, or talking about these, you know, really true and painful memories, things like that. But yeah, it was scary, but obviously incredibly gratifying and fun.
Okay, we're going to wrap in about 10 minutes, but before that, I'm just going to ask the last few questions in the chat box. We have someone who is asking, Hamida from YouTube is asking, what's the intention behind the scene where Dexter and Aisha are playing with the water? And then when she pours the water over her, is it meant to represent like a cleansing of memories?
Dexter, do you want to talk about that scene first?
All right, sure. I'll talk about the first part and then Aisha can answer the second part.
Sure.
So, essentially, the two scenes before that were when I was in a coffee ground and then when Aisha was doing her spoken word piece. The core of it is pain, right? So that's a theme that we were exploring. So when it goes on to the cleansing scene, that what we were trying to do is we were exploring this idea of cleaning ourselves or cleaning the pain away, and both of us has different, basically different approach and different understanding of this cleansing process. So in a way, if you want to sum it up, in a very simple one sentence, it would be to clean away the pain. So that was what that cleansing scene was representing. yeah, and in terms of the second part of the question, Aisha can answer.
Yeah, so with the water, I think for me, Jackie had actually asked me that same question when he was talking me through the scene. He's like, what does this represent for you? And, I said like this represents, I think whenever any one of us goes through something really painful or traumatic, or you want to forget something, you can either just let it sit and simmer and, ferment, or you reach that point where you realize like, okay, I have to go through the painful emotional work and then I'll get better. And I think cleansing is almost that decision of like, okay, I'm just gonna try and get better. Like I'm just gonna work hard to move on. And it's interesting because I would say like elastic is kind of like that emotional work. Once you decide to let go or move on of things, it's never an easy or bumpy or an easy or smooth ride. So yeah.
Okay, we actually have another question for another scene, which is the childhood scene. We have a question from Dinesh. When Dexter was changing his clothes, it was exceptionally long. Was that intentional? If yes, what was the desired effect? We also have Alicia asking, sorry, not Alicia, Aisha, another Aisha asking, hi, how about the outfit trying scene? What was the intended message? So there are two questions about scene 2. So
Yeah, so in terms of that that changing scene, right, what we're trying to explore is this childhood where, we're not bound by societal pressure yet. All we want to do is have fun. Just because in the scene, I'm trying on girls' clothes, I'm trying to be a superhero, doesn't mean I want to be a girl or I want to be a superhero. It's just for fun, right? Kids, they're not thinking so much, they just want to have fun. But that scene was basically in a way exploring how society is conditioning us to act as a to navigate society, to be a part of a productive member of the society. So in terms of that prolong of me taking it off, from my approach, right, it's a lot of, I just want to have fun. Like, why can't I have fun? Like, you can have fun when you're having fun, but when you're done having fun, you want to, live the way society asks you to live, then I need to follow you. But me as a kid, I still want to have fun and dress in dresses, look cute. But society is telling me that I cannot do this because of X, Y, Z reason. So it's this holding on to that thing that excites me, that youth, that innocence. That's why we're trying to explore as well. And the pain that comes with needing to let go of that. So I think, yeah. Anything Aisha want to add on?
Yeah, I think for me, it really is about that. And also what you mentioned at the beginning, which is this idea of societal expectation. It's that idea that when you're a child, you kind of just are what you are. And then for whatever reason, through your own experiences, through things you overhear from adults and people around you, you actually develop this concept of shame, or like what social conditioning is supposed to be like. And it's sort of that onset of being self-aware, and that sense of being self-aware being, affected by how you think society wants to view you. So yeah, that's what, for me, that scene was really about.
okay, actually, there's another question for Aisha from Geraldine. What if you have to do this without a live audience for another year? How would you keep yourself inspired?
Oh man, I probably need everyone on this Zoom meeting to hang out with me all the time to make me do weird things and get out of my comfort zone. Honestly, I think really true to the aim of this performance series, it's just being around other people who are willing to collaborate. And even if we'd have to do film shows, or even if we're not performing at all, like being just around, especially as someone who was not part of Malaysia's creative community, or what you want to call it, just being around people who are very comfortable doing their own work and willing to share that with you, and be willing for you to share that with them, is really enough, I think, to make me feel excited about creating something like this.
I remember Aisha telling me that it was actually very intimidating for her to be in Gongsi KL the first time, because the space is huge. And then when she goes in, it's like, I don't know what to do. Everybody is like having fun in their own corner. And then I remember also going to the Gongsi KL during the production week where Aisha is just facing the wall and shouting, potatoes, potato is delicious. And she became one of the person who do weird things in the warehouse in the end.
Yeah, I've really come a long way. And honestly, I can't wait to go back and just be in that space. And so what you say about space is actually really important too. I think just being in somewhere like Kongsi KL, where you feel like I can literally be alone in the corner and do whatever my body and voice wants me to do. Like, wow, that's so liberating. And I never would have gotten that feeling without doing this show.
Okay, so the last question that I hope I didn't miss any. So the last question is from Alicia. Did you guys consider bringing a dancer or a movement director to the team? Okay, Aisha and Dexter, I guess you guys get pointers from different people throughout the process. So do you, actually there is a dancer and a movement directors in this team who is only joining during the production period, giving Dexter and Aisha's pointers on how to move their bodies, even putting the performers and the videographer together in terms of how to move with the dancer's body. So it was actually a very challenging process for the production team as well. But what was it like on your side, the performers and the videographer? Han, do you want to answer the question first?
So this was really, really interesting because we actually had this idea quite late in the your performance and practicing. Safe to say that one thing that I've learned through shooting this type of video was that as we were shooting it, I started to realize that the camera was kind of another actor as well, because we had to know exactly where everyone was going to be as well and where we wanted to focus on. So I felt like it was really important to understand the context of what was important for people to know and what was important for the actors to show and express. So it's quite a collaborative thing. Yeah, I mean that was what was kind of it started to come to fruition in my mind as we were going through it. Yeah. Hello, muted. Good.
No, you're good.
Dexter, do you have any thoughts about movement and?
Yeah, so I was technically being brought on to be that movement person, but I actually don't have any formal movement training. I've done like one production before this in movement, so it's a lot of experimentation during the devising process. Like we would run exercises, me and Aisha, and Jackie would also give us exercises to do. And a lot of the movement pieces would develop from a lot of improvisation. So it's not that we have a choreographer or I consciously stand and do it a certain way. It's a lot from playing around with either projection lights or music or nothing, just like, okay, we'll go into a space and move a certain way. And just, if you feel like moving, you move with this. If you feel like touching something with your face, touch it with your face. So it's doing a lot of things that you usually wouldn't do outside of the rehearsal studio. But a lot of the things that you see in terms of movements will develop organically during the rehearsal process. So I think having a movement, like a professional movement director would definitely help a choreographer. But it would be something different would have came out of it, because a lot of what we choreograph came from the stories that we've shared with each other. So if we do bring on a movement director or a choreographer, then we will need to be able to open up to them, and we need to be able to connect with them, because five of us connect us really well. That's why we were able to work really well together. So if we do bring this sixth person in, then we need to make sure that the sixth person is someone that can, really understand what we're trying to say, because we had a year of getting to know each other to create this piece. So yeah, I don't know. The dynamic will definitely change. It's not something I'm opposed to, But there are several factors in place that we have to take into consideration if you do that.
Agreed.
Okay, is there anything anyone else wants to add? No?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to my boys, Nelly, Formation Backline, and Gun. Thank you so much. If it wasn't for the two of you, it would have been chaotic for me to handle audio on my own. So thank you guys. Thank you so much, the
Thank
two of
you.
you.
Thank you, us
Thank you,
also,
Seni.
and team.
Thank you everyone who is with us tonight as well. I actually wish to end this with by answering another Aisha's question. Actually, during this pandemic, a lot of people thought that the arts could actually pause for a while, but it was a tough year for all of us, for art practitioners as well as for venues. A lot of people are struggling throughout the year, but we didn't want to stop producing arts, even though it has inevitably changed the way we create art, present art, as well as consume art. So that's why we're taking a leap here, a leap of faith, by seeing what could happen if we were to present something that was planned to be a live performance into a pre-recorded video. And I guess we're still asking this question by trying to keep the spirit of Seni Tiga, to create this environment for a very healthy collaboration process where everyone is, constantly creating some things, because the pandemic didn't stop artists from making arts. It's just so hard for us to keep presenting arts to a wider audience. So to all the arts practitioners out there, I wish that everybody can just hang on for a little bit more, so that when the time is good, appropriate for shows to go back, for arts to be presented to a wider public, we would all be prepared to tell a story. Okay, before we end, I would like to thank everyone who is in the team, including the creative team, the video team, the production team, as well as the organizations who have been supporting us throughout the year, including Chandana, who supported the show, Rex KL, who has been with us throughout the year, as well as Exim, who is supporting us by providing us a space for experimentation, as well as Lepon for the coffee powder and Heng for the light equipment. Okay, thank you. Thank you to all the artists. Thank you to all the technical staff and the video team.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
for
everyone.
tuning
Thank you, everybody.
in. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Ding, ding, ding. Hey, Gun, what's up?
Oi.
Yeah, see you
What's up,
guys.
Anson?
What's
I'll see you guys
up?
soon, alright?
Hanson's webcam is like a show on its own.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my camera.
Hey,
You need
your
to
camera
use
damn
Google
edgy, man.
camera.
So edgy, man.
I don't know what's going on. Alright, ciao, ciao.
Jangan cerita hantu.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao, bye-bye. Good
See
night.
you guys.
Good night,
Good night.
guys.
Take
Bye.
care.
Good night.
Yeah, no group photo. Oh, 你们拿到。